Vortis, the most famous interstellar travel blogger in the galaxy, had his mind blown to cosmic dust when he set foot on Earth, a planet he would soon declare the most incredible destination in the universe. But that declaration could spell doom for humanity if radical aliens hell-bent on keeping humans in their place caught wind of it. The Eliani blogger towered over the human crowd at JFK Intergalactic Spaceport, his iridescent blue scales shimmering under the terminal lights. 4 long arms waved cheerily at the gawking onlookers, smartphones snapping pics of the alien celebrity in their midst. Robert Phillips, a seasoned human guide tasked with showing Vortis the planet's wonders, gulped nervously as he approached the imposing 7-foot extraterrestrial. He knew this next fortnight could change the course of human history, for better or worse. If he impressed this influential alien and Earth went viral across the stars, it might catapult humanity to relevance on the galactic stage. But if fringe Eliani militants made good on threats to sabotage the trip, it could slam the door on mankind's ascent for centuries to come. No pressure. The helicopter lifted off the tarmac, blades whirring and kicking up a cyclone of dust. Vortis pressed his face against the window like an excited child as the ground rapidly fell away. Robert grinned at the alien's enthusiasm, glad his suggestion for an aerial tour of the Grand Canyon was already a hit. As they soared over the vast chasm, Vortis's eyes widened in sheer awe. Intricate layers of red, orange, and purple rock stretched out beneath them, carved by the Colorado River over eons. Temples of stone reached skyward, while others dived deep into shadowy crevasses. It was a masterpiece of erosion, sculpted on an almost inconceivable scale and time frame. "By the 7 suns, this is absolutely incredible," Vortis exclaimed. "I've seen the crystal ravines of Altair Prime and the magma fields of Oraxon, but nothing quite like this. The sheer variety of colors and rock formations. It's almost like a work of art crafted by the planet itself over millions of years. Magnificent." Robert couldn't help but feel a swell of pride. That's the amazing thing about Earth, the diversity of landscapes and ecosystems. From mountains to rainforests to deserts, there's always something new and breathtaking to discover. As the helicopter banked around a particularly stunning butte, neither of them noticed the ground crew at the helipad, scrambling around in a panic. Park rangers rushed onto the tarmac with weapons drawn, shouting at a group of tourists who were suspiciously close to the other parked choppers. Commander Zorgon cursed under his breath. His sabotage attempt had been spotted, and now these primitive apes were trying to apprehend him and his squad. He barked orders to his subordinates, and they ran for the cover of nearby trees. Plasma bolts flew as the rangers opened fire, the sizzling projectiles narrowly missing the fleeing Eliani. In the helicopter, a red light on the console began blinking. The pilot furrowed his brow in concern and started flipping switches. Robert leaned forward, recognizing the signal from his days flying rescue missions in the Air Force. "What's going on? Is something wrong with the chopper?" The pilot shook his head. "Not sure, but we're getting some kind of warning. I'm going to set us down on that mesa over there just to be safe." As the helicopter touched down on the flat expanse of rock, Vortis turned to Robert with a look of concern. "Is everything all right? I hope there's no problem with the vehicle." Robert patted the alien's arm reassuringly. "I'm sure it's nothing major. These tours are incredibly safe, and the pilots are some of the best in the business. We'll be back up in the air in no time." While the pilot inspected the chopper, Vortis and Robert sat on the edge of the mesa, legs dangling over a 1,000-foot drop. The Eliani blogger took a deep breath, savoring the crisp desert air. "You know, Robert, being a famous travel writer may seem glamorous, but it comes with a lot of pressure. My viewers always expect me to top my last video, to show them sights they've never seen before. It can be exhausting, always chasing the next big thing." Robert nodded thoughtfully. "I can only imagine. But that's the thing about travel, isn't it? Sometimes the most meaningful experiences are the ones you don't plan for. The people you meet, the unexpected detours, the quiet moments of connection." Vortis smiled, his scales shimmering in the sunlight. "You're right, and this trip has already given me so many of those moments thanks to you. I'm glad to have you as my guide and my friend." As the two sat in comfortable silence, marveling at the raw beauty of the alien world around them, they had no idea of the danger that had just narrowly been averted, or of the shadowy forces still conspiring to cut their journey short by any means necessary. Commander Zorgon slammed his fist against a rock in frustration. The Rangers had lost their trail, but the damage was done. Their window of opportunity had closed. He pulled out a communicator and barked into it. "Commander Zorgon to High Command. The sabotage was unsuccessful. I repeat, the target remains active, requesting additional personnel and resources for a new plan of attack. These humans cannot be allowed to gain the secrets of interstellar travel. By any means necessary, Vortis must be silenced." The French quarter pulsed with an electric energy as Vortis and Robert stepped out of their taxi, the scent of spices and sounds of jazz filling the humid night air. Colorful beads hung from wrought-iron balconies, while street performers juggled flaming batons to the cheers of tipsy tourists. It was a feast for the senses, almost overwhelming in its vibrancy. "Welcome to Nolans, my alien amigo." Robert grinned, spreading his arms wide. "Ain't no place on Earth quite like it. The food, the music, the people, it's a gumbo of cultures and traditions, simmered to perfection over hundreds of years." Vortis's eyes sparkled with excitement as he took it all in. "I can feel the history in these streets, Robert. The joy and the pain, the celebrations and the struggles. It's intoxicating." They followed the sound of trumpets and laughter to Jackson Square, where a raucous jazz festival was in full swing. Musicians in bright suits belted out soulful tunes while couples danced with wild abandon. Food stalls filled the air with the mouth-watering aromas of jambalaya, gumbo, and beignets. "You haven't lived until you've tried a real Nolans beignet," Robert declared, handing Vortis a paper bag filled with the piping hot pastries. "Careful, though. The powdered sugar gets everywhere." As they savored the sweet, pillowy treats, Vortis turned to Robert with a thoughtful expression. "I'm starting to understand what makes human culture so unique. It's not just the diversity of your peoples and traditions, it's the way you embrace that diversity, how you let it shape and enrich your shared identity." Robert nodded, brushing sugar off his shirt. "It hasn't always been easy. This city has seen its share of hardship and injustice, but through it all, the people here have found strength in their community, in their music and art and food. They've weathered storms, both literal and figurative, and come out dancing on the other side." As they continued their stroll, Robert regaled Vortis with tales of New Orleans' tumultuous history, from the slave trade to the civil rights movement to the devastation of Hurricane Katrina. Vortis listened intently, his admiration for the resilience of the human spirit growing with each story. But their reverie was suddenly shattered by screeching tires and shouting voices. Before either of them could react, a group of militants leapt out of a van and grabbed Robert, dragging him towards the waiting vehicle. "Robert!" Vortis shouted, springing into action. His 4 powerful arms made short work of the attackers, sending them flying like ragdolls, but more kept coming, swarming him from all sides. With a burst of strength, Vortis broke free and gave chase as the van sped off into the night. His heart pounded as he ran, dodging pedestrians and street signs, relying on his keen sense of direction to navigate the unfamiliar city. "Take a left at the next intersection," Robert yelled from inside the van, his voice barely audible over the screeching tires. "That'll take us towards the highway." Vortis put on a burst of speed, his Eliani muscles propelling him forward. Just as the van was about to merge onto the freeway, he spotted a police cruiser parked on the side of the road. "Officers, I need your assistance," Vortis shouted, his voice booming over the traffic. "My friend has been abducted in that van." The startled cops sprang into action, lights flashing and sirens blaring as they joined the pursuit. The van swerved and skidded, trying to evade capture, but Vortis and the police stayed hot on its tail. Finally, the van spun out and crashed into a lamppost, its occupants stumbling out with their hands raised in surrender. The cops quickly moved in, cuffing the militants and freeing a shaken but unharmed Robert. As the adrenaline wore off, Vortis sagged against a wall, his mind reeling. These attacks were escalating, growing bolder and more desperate. Was continuing this journey worth the risk? But then Robert was at his side, his hand resting on Vortis's shoulder. "I know you're scared, big guy, I am too, but we can't let them win. We can't let fear dictate our actions." Vortis met his friend's gaze, seeing the determination burning there. "But what if next time we're not so lucky? What if they succeed in stopping us from sharing the truth about Earth?" "That's exactly why we have to keep going," Robert insisted. "By showing the galaxy the best of our world, our resilience, our diversity, our capacity for love and connection, we can break down the barriers that divide us. We can foster understanding and cooperation between humans and Eliani and all the other species out there." Vortis felt a swell of emotion rising in his chest. Robert's words had struck a chord, reigniting the spark of purpose that had driven him to undertake this journey in the first place. He couldn't back down now, not when the stakes were higher than ever. "You're right, Robert," Vortis said, his voice steady with resolve. "We'll finish this trip no matter what obstacles they throw at us, and when we're done, the whole universe will know the truth about Earth and its incredible people." As they left New Orleans behind, the city's indomitable spirit seemed to linger in their hearts, a reminder of the power of resilience and unity in the face of adversity. The road ahead would be perilous, but Vortis and Robert would face it together, determined to make the most of every moment and share the wonders of Earth with the galaxy. The chill of the Alaskan air bit through Vortis's scales as he stepped out of the transport pod. He shivered and rubbed his forearms together, unused to such frigid temperatures. Robert chuckled at his alien friend's discomfort and tossed him a thick, puffy jacket from his pack. "Trust me, big guy, you're gonna want this. It gets even colder at night," he said with a grin. Vortis caught the jacket and struggled to put it on, his extra limbs getting tangled in the sleeves. How do you humans survive in such extreme conditions? It's like being in a cryogenic freezer. "Yeah, you get used to it. Plus, the payoff is worth it. Just wait until you see the northern lights." They set up camp on a remote hillside, far from any signs of civilization. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and orange, Vortis and Robert huddled around a small fire, sipping hot cocoa and swapping stories of their adventures. Suddenly, Vortis's communicator beeped, startling them both. He fished it out of his pocket and frowned at the message on the screen. His scales turned a sickly shade of green as he read the words aloud. "By order of the Eliani High Council, Vortis Zorgax is hereby commanded to cease all contact with the human species and return to the homeworld immediately. Failure to comply will result in charges of treason and a revocation of all interstellar travel privileges." Robert nearly choked on his cocoa. "What the hell? They can't be serious." Vortis slumped down on a log, his head in his hands. "I was afraid this might happen. There's been a growing anti-human sentiment among my people, fueled by fear and misinformation. They think I'm betraying our values by promoting Earth as a destination." "But that's ridiculous. You're just sharing your honest experiences, showing people the truth about our world. How can that be a bad thing?" Vortis sighed, his breath forming clouds in the cold air. "It's not that simple, Robert. My people have a long history of isolationism, of keeping to ourselves and avoiding contact with other species. They see my trip as a threat to our way of life." Robert put a hand on Vortis's shoulder, his eyes blazing with determination. "Screw that. You can't let them bully you into silence. Your story is too important, Vortis. You have to share it with the galaxy, no matter what the consequences." Vortis looked up at his friend, torn between his loyalty to his people and his newfound appreciation for Earth. He opened his mouth to respond, but was cut off by the sound of engines roaring overhead. A sleek, black spacecraft descended from the sky, its landing gear kicking up clouds of snow as it touched down on the frozen ground. The hatch hissed open, revealing a group of heavily armed Eliani soldiers, their faces hard and unreadable. A tall, imposing figure stepped forward, his uniform adorned with medals and insignia. "Vortis Zorgax, By order of the High Council, you are under arrest for treason against the Eliani people. You will come with us immediately to face trial on the homeworld." Robert leapt to his feet, his fists clenched at his sides. "Like hell he will. Vortis has done nothing wrong. He's just trying to bring our worlds closer together, to promote understanding and cooperation." The official narrowed his eyes at Robert, his hand resting on the butt of his plasma pistol. "This does not concern you, human. Step aside or face the consequences." Vortis rose slowly, his eyes locked on Robert's. "Don't, my friend. I cannot let you risk your life for my cause. Earth needs you to tell our story, to show the galaxy the truth about your people." He turned to face the soldiers, his shoulders squared and his head held high. "I will go with you willingly, but know this. My experiences on Earth have changed me forever. I will never stop fighting for the values of openness, curiosity, and exchange that I learned there." As the soldiers led Vortis away, Robert felt a lump forming in his throat. He watched helplessly as his friend was loaded into the spacecraft, the hatch slamming shut with a sickening finality. "I won't let you down, Vortis," he whispered to the empty sky. "I'll make sure the whole damn galaxy knows the truth about Earth, about the beauty and diversity and resilience of our planet. I won't rest until your sacrifice means something." In the months that followed, Robert poured all his energy into creating a documentary about Vortis's journey. He spent long hours editing footage, crafting a narrative that showcased the wonders of Earth through the eyes of an alien traveler. When the film was finally released, it sent shockwaves through the galactic community. Viewers were captivated by Vortis's honest, heartfelt observations about human culture, his awe at the natural beauty of places like the Grand Canyon and the Northern Lights. But the documentary also sparked fierce debate and controversy, particularly among the Eliani. Some saw it as a dangerous piece of propaganda, an attempt to undermine their traditional values and way of life. Others, however, were moved by Vortis's story, by his willingness to risk everything for the sake of greater understanding between species. As the film spread across the galaxy, Vortis languished in a prison cell on the Eliani homeworld, awaiting trial for his supposed crimes. The government painted him as a traitor, a threat to the very fabric of their society. But with each passing day, more and more Eliani began to question the official narrative. They saw the footage of Vortis and Robert's friendship, of the warmth and hospitality shown to them by the people of Earth. They began to wonder if perhaps their leaders had been wrong all along, if fear and isolationism were not the answer. 10 years had passed since I stood in that Alaskan snow, watching helplessly as the Eliani soldiers dragged Vortis into their spacecraft. A decade since my world had been turned upside down, my understanding of the universe and my place in it forever altered by the friendship of an alien traveler. In that time, the galaxy had changed. Under the guidance of a new, forward-thinking administration, the Eliani had taken their first tentative steps towards intergalactic cooperation. Trade routes were established, cultural exchange programs initiated, and at the forefront of it all was Vortis, now a respected diplomat and advocate for the very values that had once branded him a traitor. I followed his career from afar, watching with pride as he broke down barriers and fostered understanding between worlds. The documentary we had created together had been a catalyst for change, sparking conversations and shifting perspectives across the galaxy. But even as I celebrated his success, a part of me ached for the friendship we had lost. In the chaos of the trial and its aftermath, Vortis and I had drifted apart. I had tried to reach out over the years, but my messages went unanswered, leaving me to wonder if he had moved on, if our bond had been nothing more than a fleeting moment in the grand scheme of the universe. As I sat in my study, surrounded by the mementos of our journey, a jar of red Martian sand, a jazz poster from New Orleans, a vial of water from the Ganges, a chime from my communicator pulled me from my thoughts. I glanced at the screen, my heart stuttering as I saw the name displayed there. Vortis. With trembling fingers I opened the message, my eyes scanning the words rapidly. As I read, a chill settled over me, a profound sadness mingling with the shock of the revelation. Vortis was coming to Earth, but not for a joyous reunion or a celebratory visit. He was coming to say goodbye. I had been diagnosed with a terminal illness, the message explained. The doctors gave me only a few months to live, and in the face of my own mortality, I realized that I couldn't leave this world without seeing my friend one last time, without expressing my gratitude for the incredible journey we had shared. Tears blurred my vision as I read and reread the words, the weight of lost time pressing down on my chest. I had so much to say, so much to apologize for. But would I have the strength to do it? Would I be able to face Vortis, knowing that it would be for the last time? A week later, I stood on the landing pad, watching as Vortis's sleek spacecraft touched down. The hatch hissed open, and there he was, his iridescent scales glinting in the sunlight. He looked older, his face lined with the cares of his new role, but his eyes still sparkled with the same curiosity and warmth I remembered. "Robert," he said softly, his voice thick with emotion, "it's been too long, my friend." I stepped forward, my legs unsteady beneath me. Up close I could see the shock in Vortis's eyes as he took in my appearance, my once robust frame now thin and frail. But he didn't hesitate, pulling me into a tight embrace, his 4 arms wrapping around me like a cocoon. "I'm sorry," I whispered into his shoulder, my voice cracking, "for everything, for not being there, for letting you face it all alone." Vortis pulled back, his hands gripping my shoulders firmly. "No, Robert. I'm the one who should apologize. I let my duties consume me, let myself forget what truly mattered. You were my guide, my friend, and I abandoned you when you needed me most." We stood there for a long moment, the weight of the past hanging between us. Finally, Vortis spoke again, his voice soft but determined. "Come, let's go inside. We have much to discuss and precious little time to do it in." As we settled into the familiar comfort of my living room, surrounded by the artifacts of our shared history, the words began to flow. We talked for hours, reminiscing about the wonders we had seen, the challenges we had faced, the Grand Canyon, New Orleans, the Northern Lights. Each memory a bittersweet reminder of the bond we had forged. But there was something else, a secret I had been keeping, a project I had poured my heart and soul into in the years since our journey. And as the sun began to set on that final day, I knew it was time to share it with Vortis. "I've been working on something," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "Something inspired by our time together, by the lessons we learned about the power of cultural exchange and understanding." I pulled out a data pad, the schematics for the project glowing on the screen. Vortis leaned in, his eyes widening as he took in the details. "A permanent intergalactic cultural exchange program," he breathed, his voice filled with wonder. "Robert, this is incredible. The potential impact, the lives it could change." I nodded, a lump forming in my throat. "I've poured everything I have into it, Vortis, my time, my resources, my energy. I wanted to leave a legacy, something that would continue the work we started all those years ago." I reached out, taking Vortis' hand in my own. The contrast of his scales against my weathered skin, a poignant reminder of the unlikely friendship that had changed both our lives. "I want you to take it on, Vortis," I said, my voice steady despite the emotions swirling within me. "I want you to see it through, to make it a reality. It's my final wish, my last request of the friend who showed me the true wonders of the universe." Vortis' eyes shone with tears, his grip tightening on my hand. "I will, Robert, I promise you I will carry on your work, our work. I will not let your vision, your legacy fade away." We sat in silence for a long moment, the weight of the promise hanging in the air between us. Finally I spoke, my voice soft but filled with conviction. "You showed me the wonders of the galaxy, Vortis, but it was our friendship, our bond that truly changed my life. Thank you, my friend, for everything." Vortis nodded, his own voice thick with emotion. "And you, Robert, showed me the true strength and beauty of the human spirit. I will carry that with me always, no matter where my path may lead." A few weeks later, I passed away peacefully in my sleep, surrounded by the love and memories of a life well lived, and as my spirit drifted among the stars, I knew that my legacy, our legacy, was in good hands. Vortis, true to his word, took on the intergalactic cultural exchange project with a passion and dedication that would have made me proud. He worked tirelessly, bringing together leaders and citizens from across the galaxy, breaking down the barriers that had once seemed insurmountable. And as the project grew and flourished, touching countless lives and forging new bonds of understanding and cooperation, Vortis knew that my memory, our friendship, would live on, not just in the program itself, but in the hearts and minds of all those who had been touched by our extraordinary journey. In the end, as he stood on the observation deck of the newly christened Robert Phillips Intergalactic Cultural Exchange Center, Vortis looked out at the stars, a soft smile playing on his lips. "Thank you, Robert," he whispered, his voice carried on the cosmic winds, "for showing me the true power of friendship, of understanding, for changing my life and the lives of so many others. Your legacy will endure, my friend. Always." You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.